Welcome to this special episode of Decoding Gender Insights from Thought Leaders. Population First is observing the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender Based Violence, a global campaign from November 25th to December 10th, with a 16-part podcast series that delves into the intersection of gender and critical social issues. Since inception in 2005, Population First has focused on challenging the gendered attitudes that devalue girls and women, fuel discrimination, and perpetuate gender based violence. Advertising in India reflects evolving gender roles, traditionally portraying men as providers and women as homemakers. Ads are now challenging stereotypes by showcasing women as leaders and men in caregiving roles. Advertising in India reflects evolving gender roles, traditionally portraying men as providers and women as homemakers. Ads are now challenging stereotypes by showcasing women as leaders and men in caregiving roles. While progress is evident, stereotypes persist, especially in the beauty and domestic sectors. Advertisers strive to balance tradition and modernity, promoting inclusivity and empowerment in a diverse society. And yet, India has a long way to go. Joining us are two passionate gender equality advocates. Gender rights activist and Population First trustee, Dr. A.L. Sharada, has spearheaded the Ladli campaign for gender sensitivity for 2 decades when she headed the organization. Megha Tata, with more than 30 years of leadership in media giants like Discovery and Star TV, integrates gender perspectives into her work and contributions to national and international fora. Over to our experts.
Megha, we both have been, we were witness to the change that is coming, or has come in advertising over the last 2 decades. I remember first time when I made a presentation to Ad Club, very, very senior veteran of advertising came to me and he said that we are here to sell products and not bring about social change. And the same person a few years back came and said, "You're doing a great job. You have brought up so much of change in advertising industry." And we have seen that from from mirroring the society, advertising has gone on to show a mirror to the society. It's been I feel very satisfied, and it's been a great transformation. And how do you look at this?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. And it's such an honor to have this conversation with Dr. Sharda, who I've admired for so many years. First at the periphery, looking at the amazing work you've been doing, Sharda, and then of course, a little more closely in the recent past, where they've been a parcel of your journey as well. So I think you're absolutely right. I think the response you got from that gentleman many years ago is probably you'll get some of those responses even today. Maybe that gentleman has evolved, but there are many who haven't yet. And a lot of them still feel that, this is good. These are two separate agendas. And to me, it doesn't make any sense. It can be very integrated. It doesn't have to be either or. And it's about how you position your proposition in your communication it can play a big role. So I think, and advertising, as you know, Sharda, has such an integral part of our is such an integral part of our ecosystem in the kind of content we are consuming. We do have the power to have that impact if we set that communication right. So I think it is very important that these conversations, these dialogues continue to happen. And there is no like a black book or a rule book to say, okay, if you do this, this will happen. And if you do that, this will happen. It's an evolution. And every step we take can and does make an impact. And you have been so deep into it, and you know that change is definitely happening. But it's far away from how we actually would like the world to be. So I think, and as you know that, IAA as an International Advertising Association, which has been a very integral part of our industry and has always taken up agenda of what is force for good. And I have been privileged to be part of IA for over a decade now. And one such initiative IA leads, as you know, is called the IA Voice of Change. And that has made a significant impact, we feel, in how awareness is really grown in terms of industry by and large being more aware of how we need to be more gender inclusive. And it's not about the representation of women in advertising, it's how they are represented. I think that is very important for people to understand, because when we partnered with UNICEF, our knowledge partner, and the research we did with GDI, which is the Gina Davis Institute, we did a research of about 1,000 ads about 3-4 years ago. And it was very unfortunate to see the outcome. We saw that there are a lot of women who are there in the ads, but the way they are getting represented are still very stereotypical. You'll see more women in housework roles. You'll see more women in, objectification space, or you'll see more women doing more mother role in a kitchen kind of a space. But very rarely do you see them doing outdoor activity, or being in a taking financial decisions, or riding or driving a car, or any vehicle. So these are aspects which are being discussed, and I think conversations like these and the initiatives like IA Voice of Change, I think, can play a big role in making an impact.
True. I mean, Voice of Change is a very good initiative, and I'm glad that IA has taken the initiative to start these dialogues. And I must say that IA has always been very supportive for so many years. Remember, we
Yeah.
did so many activities with IA. And as regards, it's not that the industry is not changing. For instance, we have women being portrayed for driving cars or vehicles also, but it is only for scooter and Maruti, or those small cars which are good for women, kind of a thing. But when it comes to big cars, the real luxury cars, or cars which are known for their speed or whatever it is, it's always the men, and women are either sitting next to them, or receiving him with open arms for coming with in such a big car, kind of a thing. But similarly, with many products, I see that women are being portrayed in those sectors also, but not really in a transformative way. It's a small change toward a small move towards change, but to take that big step to show a woman riding a Enfield or something
Though
is,
actually that is happened in the recent past. I've
yeah, we
seen,
gave an award to that
yeah,
ad, because
Enfield is there. Yes,
yeah,
they're advertising bikes for women as well.
yeah,
And I think there is I think Harley is doing it, or maybe it was Enfield itself. So there is definitely a step
yeah,
in the right direction, like you rightly said. Yeah.
yeah, because that advertisement has a girl riding the motorcycle from the city to Ladakh to attend a function, and she does the solo riding, in that difficult terrain, on the motorbike. So that is a very inspiring kind of ad. But I feel most of the ads stick to scooties and small cars rather than big cars. And I appreciate any change, because that's the beginning, and I'm sure there will be more ads. And as I always tell you, say, for instance, I agree that advertising is for selling products, and you have a target audience. We cannot ignore that. Then you're not a good advertiser if you don't reach out to your target audience, and if you don't make the right impact for them to buy the product or the service, etc. So, as Mr. Sister used to say, being gender sensitivity doesn't always impact your, bottom lines negatively. Because you can have a good ad, for instance, the Share the Load ad, which had garnered so much of social media attention. They caused so much of conversations. There's series of ads on Share the Load. So it is possible to create conversations. It is possible to make impact the society, or particularly the youth, in a good way without actually without actually, affecting your bottom lines. If you're a good
Correct.
creator,
Yeah.
if you have that ability to tell a story in an interesting way, you can tell a good story and at the same time sell the product or service or the
Yeah.
idea. So
Yeah.
I feel that is where I and ASCII and others, coming to the picture, because you can set the guidelines, you can set the reward mechanisms, so that people think that it is rewarding to be gender sensitive. For instance,
Yeah.
the Abbey for our Abbey Award for gender sensitivity, gender portrayals is a good step, is a right step, towards promoting gender sensitivity. And
Mm.
I feel it's not just about having women, as you said in advertisements, but how do you show them?
Mm.
So when we are doing the gender analysis of ads, it's also important to talk about the power equations, the power positions, the dynamics, power dynamics between men and women, etc. I remember one ad of a mobile paying app and paying bills. I think Paytm or something, where you pay bills online, and it had a father and son vying with each other to pay the bill online, and you have the woman, mother, in the background using a spray and spraying the plants. So, though there was a woman, she was just in the background taking care of the plants. You find that kind of portrayals in many, advertisements. So, as you rightly said, it's not just about how many women are there in the advertisement, whether women are visible in the advertisements or not, but what kind of a role they are playing,
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
and what is it that you show them as doing, whether they have an agency, whether they have a voice in decision making, and the equations between men and women. For instance, the Patni and Chutney advertisement, the man,
Mm.
says that, oh, my mother would have made three chutneys with the idli, and then she
Mm.
stands up for herself, and then she says, this is the mixie, you can make 10 chutneys. This is, this is chutney, I am Patni.
Mm.
So the way he says, or is the sambar from the neighbor's house. So
Mm.
it sounds funny, but it undermines the value of the woman. So
Mm.
it is very important to understand the nuances of the power equations and the dynamics between men and women, I think, while
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
ads.
In fact, you're absolutely right, Radha. In fact, in one of these interactions we had with the various agencies, as you know, we've been doing these road shows with a lot of advertising agencies because we thought, one, of course, to talk about the reality is one, but what are we doing about it, and how can we make a change at the grassroots level is what the thought process was. So we started. I decided to go and talk to all the agencies in their own environment, talk to the creative team, talk to the strategy team, say the servicing team, to understand, highlight to them the issue in front, and what is it that as an industry community we can do it, make the change happen. So we wanted to talk to people who are actually at the time of putting a storyboard, putting an idea together, when they're casting people, when they're strategizing the campaign. At that stage, if you get a bit more conscious about
Hmm.
what the impact you can make, it really can make a difference in the way you are making. Subliminally, nobody's trying to make it look bad, but naturally it happens because you've been used to doing it in a particular way. So to bring that consciousness and awareness is what these interventions we are trying to do. And in one such intervention, I found a couple of very interesting takeaways, which I think can work really well as like a guardrail, like a guiding tool for people when they're putting their creative thoughts together. So there's one creative director, she mentioned very interestingly, she said, I use a what if strategy, right? So her strategy is that, like, if there's a brief, okay, obviously the brief is given by the client with the objective of making an impact from a sales point of view, that how am I going to show profit at the end of it. And so she said that, what, I use a what if strategy, that suppose this is a storyline, okay, which has got, uh, let's create a scenario wherein there's a home scene wherein you've shown father and son sitting in the living room. What Father is watching TV and the son is playing with an aeroplane on the ground, and the mother and the daughter are in the kitchen doing the kitchen chores. Now, and whatever the product is, and you're trying to achieve a certain objective. So she said, like, what if I swap those roles? Okay, what if I was shown what if I show that the father and the son are doing those home chores, right, and the woman is sitting and watching TV or reading a paper, and the daughter is playing with an aeroplane, right? Just swapping roles, no change, scene is the same. So she said, like, what if I do that? And if it doesn't take away from my objective, then why not? So it's
Mhm.
just that consciously, if you make an effort in thinking that how can I swap the roles without taking away the objective of making a sale and a purchase happen of that product, then at least make an attempt. Otherwise, you'll just land up doing exactly what you've been doing. Or for example, the Share the Load campaign, which you spoke about PNG, and I think PNG is like on the gold star in of the kind of work they do in inclusivity. Somebody from their team had mentioned that one of the things they do, they look at every creative every communication which goes out, which has a creative, any creative communication, they look through a third eye, which they call the gender eye. Right. So if you're taking a deciding a creative route, but they also, besides whatever the parameters they have to judge that communication, they also use what they call the third eye, which is the eye of the gender. Is it being inclusive in any form? Just the fact that you're consciously doing something will bring about a change. If you unconsciously and subconsciously continue doing what you're doing, then you'll never understand that there is a problem. So I think these are the few things which I think as industry, people from our industry who can play an integral role in making that impact, I think is important. And these are the little sort of examples and sort of you can look at, or people, and there are of course some great work happening as well. But I think we have still a long way to go before we feel that the change has actually happened.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. In fact, we should have more and more opportunities to give feedback to the advertising community, because, as you rightly said, it is not a conscious decision to show something objectionable or in a derogatory fashion, because it is internalized, the attitudes, the values, etc., and they get reflected in the creative thing. I've been analyzing ads from gender perspective for I have done it for a very long time, 13, 14 years. And the most heartening thing was that when some of the creative people, when I meet them in some of the events, they come and say, oh my God, how did I not think of it? Like, I'm so sorry I didn't think of it till you pointed it out. So we can do that in a very non-abrasive, non-judgmental fashion, just to highlight, how it could have been done better. And we should have, I think, more analysis of ads from gender perspective. There should be more conversation on gender sensitive ads, those who have done well and those who have just missed the message.
Both.
Yeah. So, for instance, we really need to look at the social media, because, for instance, some good ads are also made to be taken out because of the social media hue and cry, particularly the Titan Tanishq ad with the
Yeah.
Muslim mother-in-law gifting
Yeah.
something. So that is also happening, but it's a double-edged sword anyway, social media. But I think we should use social media more effectively to, initiate those conversations and initiate a kind of a feedback loop for the advertising professionals. I feel I can do a lot, and all the advertising associations and institutions should take it up as a agenda, and then come up with some interesting strategies to take it forward. I very sincerely feel that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, I mean, IA is definitely, taking that step slowly but surely. And like we say, every voice counts. And I think slowly, it is, we feel it's becoming a small movement of sorts. And I think it's moving in the right direction. But I think it's also, also about, a lot of times we feel that we get to be told that, these are all nice things to say, but how do you address the pushback we get from clients? Like a lot of agencies say that how do we address this pushback we get from clients where their objective is to grow their sales? So how can we be more I mean, I'd like to know your perspective is so that how do you bridge that gap of the intention versus the reality of what the intention versus the business reality. So, like for example, um, one of the clients, one of the agencies says, it's an automobile client, and he said that we appreciate the intention, but if I make a car ad with women driving, it will be seen as a car for women. And then I lose out the big market for men. So what's the solution according to you?
There was
How could one?
yeah.
Sorry,
Uh,
please.
there was a very good ad where a man and a woman, they both race a very high-end car on the mountains, and then sort of it shows both of them maneuvering the car, driving the car beautifully, and then they race, and then they. I mean, it's very nice to see the ad, and anyway, at the end of it, the man proposes to her with the ring and asks her, whether she will marry her or not. So some people have objected. So still it is, but that I wouldn't take that too seriously. But the fact that they have shown a woman also driving the car equally well sends a different message that the car can be owned by both men and women. So it's not
Mm,
undercutting your, profits or your market in any way. So as I said earlier, uh, advertising people are creative people. They can tell a story in an interesting fashion, and if only, as you rightly said, if only they're conscious of it, right? I have to tell a story where I have both men and women. I want to show this is a product for men, but I still want to show that women can also own it. So, how do I tell the story? How do I bring the woman into the picture? Is it like she's standing in a very enticing pose, leaning on the car, or is she waiting for him to come in his car and then gives him a tight hug? Or how do I show the woman in the picture? So I keep giving this example again and again. I think I have told you many times. Like if you are talking of household products, like cooking oil or whatever it is, so you have to show it as a woman's product, because in India still 99% of the households have the woman cooking. So you cannot have the man cooking and then expect everybody to feel, oh, it's nice that they're showing. But how do you show the man when she is cooking? Like I have seen some ads where they show the man clearing the table,
mm,
setting up the table, washing the vessels when she is cooking.
mm,
So you show the ecosystem differently, right? It is still a woman's job, but a man is not just sitting and reading paper when she's cooking. He's doing something, he's sharing the work in the kitchen. So this is first step. As I said, we go by step. So once that becomes normalized, that men can help in the kitchen, then we can talk of men cooking or men using oil, etc. So we cannot have revolutionary stories told, because that doesn't work. Even
mm,
I'll think, kya bakwas, which man cooks. But
mm,
like I saw an ad where a man is cooking oilless cooking. It's for a microwave or an oven or something, and then he has a small bottle of oil and he is cooking and the wife is watching the TV. and he keeps asking
Mm.
that, is this about oil or something? So it also depends on the product. I don't think we
Mm.
can go for Nirma washing powder where a man is, ragdifying the clothes and then, all that thing, working with the bucket of water, sitting, sparting on the floor. I don't think that is not the market for this kind of communication, right? But for washing machine, it is so technological. Man is associated with technology, right? So if you have a technological product, it's very easy to put 2 spoons of thing and switch on the machine. Okay, but the fact that men don't do even that is highlighted by the ad. Like it is such a simple thing, but they don't do even that. So share the load is for a particular product, a particular class of people who can own a automatic washing machine, and then it highlights the fact that even in that kind of a social context, you still have this gender role division.
I think I feel that the fact that these conversations are happening and more of it is happening is a positive sign. It's a glass half full approach of that people across the industry are a little more conscious about the way advertising is represented, how gender is represented, and this as of now we've been only talking about gender from a woman's lens. There is another world out there of gender which goes beyond women as well. So that inclusivity is still far away. I think just very handful of ads which have shown other genders very openly and in a positive light. It has been very few, but because it's like you are not even walking, so you cannot run is the way, I think the way the industry is probably looking at. So first let's walk, and walk as in bring in more inclusivity and show examples of whereby using gender in the correct way, it has not only not negatively impacted your business, it has positively impacted your business. So I think there are definitely examples out there. So that gives, I think, a sense of assurance for brands to say that you can do the right thing for the right reasons and for the right outcome also. So I think those examples can play a big role. I think people like yourself and I and all of us who are passionate crusaders of gender inclusivity have a big role to play in making that happen. So I would just say that continue this conversation, make every voice count, and let's make this industry far more gender inclusive than it is today.
When it comes to gender inclusivity, you're very right that, while there is more conversation about how we are portraying women, there are very few ads which actually talk about toxic masculinity or, problems, redefinition of men's role or image. There are some good ads like, we have an ad of, Vimal or some Raymond ad is there where they talk about a man taking care of a child. And there are many ads where they have shown women, particularly during COVID. There were a lot of ads which showed men helping in the house, taking care of the children, etc., because that's when everybody had to chip in. And the advertising industry has done well by focusing on men in household chores and activities. But now I don't see so many of those ads. And most of the times when it comes to LGBTQI, it is during the, those special days or, months when you have what you call these kinds of ads coming
Right.
up, or during Women's Day, on Women's Day, or something like that. You have some ads which are very highly gender sensitive, which talk about various issues, but otherwise, like we don't see such ads in great numbers. I feel this is a kind of a tokenism, but I'm happy with it. Even if it is tokenism, at least they're talking about it. And digital
Hmm.
media is providing them the platform to show those films which are long duration, 3 minutes, 4 minutes kind of a thing. So I'm looking at a world or at advertising which does not talk about these issues as only special day, communication,
Correct.
but which mainstreams or which incorporates this kind of messages in everyday ads for everyday products. That is the vision I have, or that is the dream I have, that this is how advertising should be. Like, one of our taglines is every communication that goes into the public domain should be gender sensitive. And a lot of
Mm.
communication goes from advertising industry to the into the public domain. And I feel that every communication should be gender sensitive.
Thank you, Dr. Sharda and Ms. Tata, for this engaging and thought provoking discussion on gender and advertising. Viewers may share their reactions, queries, and observations in the comments section below. Please watch all the episodes and initiate gender conversations with your family, friends, colleagues, and community members.